Hello everyone and welcome back, it's Hayward again. And look at this colorful tarantula we have over here. It's a Pamphobeteus affinis nigricolor too. And in today's video, I will not only be pairing him, but also talk about the differences between the many different nigricolors we have in the hobby, in hopes to clear some of the confusions around them. If you're only interested to see the pairing and not hear me babble about the patterns and differences, you can skip over to that now. Otherwise, let's get started with the pairing. So what we have here is a pair of Pamphobeteus affinis nigricolor 2, and that's the scientific name. Their common name is the Colombian blue bloom, and as their name suggests, they're from Colombia. However, the name Pamphobeteus affinis nigricolor 2 is definitely a bit of a mouthful, and it's quite different from the other tarantula scientific names, which usually consist of the genus and then the species. And the reason for having affinis in the middle of the name is because affinis means akin to or related to in Latin, and these nigricolors are not exactly the same as the type species of Pamphobeteus nigricolor described by Anton Oisacher in 1875, and they might be something new but very closely related to it. And there are two different forms of these close relatives of nigricolors, so we are calling them affinis 1 and affinis 2. There is also a Pamphobeteus species nigricolor, which is a lot more common in the hobby, but they're not this nigricolor at all. They're from Ecuador instead of Colombia, and much more closely related to the species Machala and stuff like that. But before we get all nitty-gritty with the nigricolors and their complicated relationships, let's get back to the pairing and look at this pretty male over here. He's trying to lure the female out from the burrow. Not really successful, to be honest with you, but look at those colorations, the pink on the carapace, the purples on the legs, and those red setae. Just a really colorful tarantula, which is quite unique even for a Pamphobeteus or a senecio matured male. And from the front half of the female that's peeking out from the burrow, you can see the red brow on her carapace. They don't go away until the female is very old, which is also quite unique in the Pamphobeteus genus, where females lose a lot of their colorations and patterns once they reach maturity and become brown or black overall. The female doesn't seem too responsive, so it's probably still a lot of courting for the male to do. And while we wait for the female to get into the mood to pair, I guess we can briefly talk about the different nigricolors we have in our hobby. First of all, we have the Pamphobeteus species nigricolor from Ecuador, which is the most affordable and common one out of the bunch. And like most of the Ecuadorian Pamphobeteus, the spiderlings and juveniles have a distinctive red and black Christmas tree pattern on their abdomen, whereas all the other Colombian nigricolors look rather uniformly grey or brown as slings, with some red hair on their abdomen and white fringes around their carapace and femurs. If you're raising your nigricolor from a younger stage, this is the easiest way to distinguish whether your nigricolor is from Ecuador or Colombia. The species nigricolor from Ecuador is also the largest one, easily reaching over 20 centimeters in leg span, with a typical lowland Ecuadorian Pamphobeteus build, being very chunky with a large carapace and body, and thicker shorter legs as well, looking very bulky overall. And just like most other Ecuadorian Pamphobeteus, they're a huge mess and a pain to ID. Back in 1993 or 94, the Pamphobeteus species Goliath came into the hobby and was originally sold as nigricolor, and they were later ratified as species Goliath. Then around 2008, another so-called nigricolor from Ecuador was introduced to the hobby, and were quite widely distributed, even though they do not match the descriptions from Oisacher. These are what we call species nigricolor now. What we now call true nigricolor was found near the type locality near Bogota in Colombia, and was introduced to the hobby back in early 2010s, with bulb morphology and appearance fitting the descriptions from Oisacher. Later, two other populations with very similar features had been found further up northeast along a highway from the type locality, around 150 kilometers apart from each other, and they were labeled as affinis 1 and affinis 2 respectively, meaning they are akin to the true nigricolor. Compared to the species nigricolor from Ecuador, the true nigricolor and affinis nigricolor from Colombia look a lot more slender and leggy. Although they can also reach over 20 centimeters in leg span, They are smaller bodied with longer legs, making them appear a lot smaller. Now let's take a better look at the different nigricolors at various life stages. First, we have the matured males. And the species nigricolor matured male just look like most other Ecuadorian Pamphobeteus you'll see, with an overall pinkish coloration, a very bold pattern that covers the entire carapace and a black abdomen. And being a lowland Ecuadorian species, the species nigricolor matured males are fairly huge, reaching neck span over 18 centimeters and often closer to 20. The true nigricolor from Colombia on the other hand are much smaller, often below 18 centimeters, and have a much slimmer and leggier build. Instead of pink, they look a lot more purple. The carapace shows a clear contrast between the purple pattern and the base black color, with long red hair on their abdomen as well. The affinis nigricolor looks similar, but have a brighter, pinker carapace pattern, and personally I don't really see a difference between the affinis 1 and affinis 2 males. The three Colombian nigricolors are all very similar, especially the two affinis species. There's just no certain way to distinguish the two affinis species as far as I know, but the true nigricolor and affinis nigricolor spiderlings still look slightly different. The true nigricolor at the bottom have a bit more white hair on their legs, whereas the affinis nigricolors have more red hair on their abdomens. However, as they grow older, it becomes much harder to distinguish them as these features become less apparent. At juvenile and subadult stage, the affinis nigricolor have a ring of red hairs around their carapace, whereas the true nigricolor does not. The affinis nigricolor also usually have a brighter and more distinct pattern on the carapace when compared to the true nigricolor of the same mold. However, that too fades away with age, and the parts other than the brow near the eyes are usually the first to fade away. True nigricolor females seems to lose all coloration on their carapace once they reach maturity, while the affinis nigricolors seems to retain that pattern for a bit longer. While little is known about the differences between the two affinis species, from my own experience and research I did online, it seems that the affinis 1 can sometimes appear a lot more brown compared to the affinis 2. They look similar after a molt, but the affinis 1 will brown a lot faster and look a lot more brown before molting. I've only had affinis 1 that turns very brown, and whether it's just an individual difference or not, that's up for debate. And perhaps because the affinis 2 remains darker, the patterns on the carapace also seems to fade away faster than the affinis 1, and it's more similar to the true nigricolor in that sense. But yeah, enough of me talking. Now that the male has successfully lured the female out of the burrow, let's get back into the pairing. You can see him pushing the female's fangs away, trying to lift her up, and there we go, that's the insertion we're looking for. You can see his right pedipalp curled up and sort of see the left one, and the one he got the insertion with, extended behind it. And now that he got the insertion, let's see what his next move will be. He still has the female under control with her fangs lodged onto his tibial hooks, and he's not backing away just yet, so perhaps he's looking for a second insertion. Both the male and the female looks very calm, so I'm not in a hurry to separate them. They might just need a short break, and we just got to remain patient and let them do their thing. And it's been a while, and the male managed to get the female up the slope, so they are on even ground now. And look at the female's hind leg shaking, trying to find a spot to place her foot, and there we go, that's a very good insertion. And this time with the male's right pedipalp, I think. Yeah, the one that was extending towards the female. And both of them still remain rather calm, but this time definitely a bit more movement from the female after the insertion. And the female is trying to back away. And if you take a look at the male's pedipalps, he's still shaking them. Not sure if he's done yet or want another go at it, want another insertion. But sometimes they do that before they leave too. Perhaps to keep the female in the mood to mate. And I guess just to remind the female that he's not food, and there we go, he's leaving. He's planning his way to escape, and poof, off he go. And although it might seem like a quick and easy pairing, the entire courting process, him trying to lure the female out of the burrow, the two of them staying still after every insertions, the entire breeding attempt actually took almost 3 hours, and during which my camera ran out of battery twice. They definitely took their time for this pairing, but although it was slow, things went very smoothly though, so that was great. And let's just take a moment to appreciate the female in all her glory. That red brow on the carapace and the red hairy abdomen contrasting with that jet black body. No wonder people were surprised these were Pamphobeteus and not senuses when they first came into the hobby. They're just so different from the common Ecuadorian Pamphobeteus we were used to back then. And well, that's it for today. Let me know down in the comments whether you like this newer format with a bit more information or you'd prefer just a simple pairing video. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.